Everyone, it's Martin here. Just a quick video post for you guys today. Really, I want to touch upon the disability diamond theory that I've written in the free ebook, which is downloadable from my philosophy page on my website. Really, I want this video just to very quickly summarise what I sort of plan and hope the diamond theory can do for you guys, and just to contextualise it a bit more from some of the people that have read it and fed back, and just wanted a bit more clarity on what I think the use is of the book. So if you go to the philosophy page and click on the PDF, very quickly just whiz down to page 5 on the book, and I'll talk you through the diagram. And then obviously, by all means, if after that you want to have a full read, then fill your boots up. But looking at the diagram, which hopefully you've been able to get up or pause me as well, we can see that on the left hand side there's the life stages. So if we take the bottom of the diamond, that very tip, as sort of birth, as the beginning of life, then as you go up the left side, we've got parents of a disabled child, the teenage years, independent living, and then life fulfillment and adventure. And then within each of those stages, I've created sort of sub areas, or almost sort of sub goals. So looking at the parent side, it would be very much around, if you're a parent, helping your disabled child to get the right education and to be socially included. And then as we go up to the teenage years, and I explain in the book that this is very much a partnership aspect, where the parent is still very much, needs to be aware of the barriers and the solutions, but also the child will have their own development and personality and aspirations. And so it's about working together. And those three areas are then in work experience, education, and social inclusion. And in the book, I very much contextualise all of this from when I grew up, having had SMA and been disabled since birth. Obviously, I can draw upon the barriers I came across and the solutions that I found with the help of other people as well. And then obviously it's a matter of you being able to digest that and take that on and apply it in different contexts to your own situations and people around you and your own disability. So then moving into independent living and sort of adulthood, the four key areas that I deem to be applicable and at play are employment, housing, equipment and transport, sort of come under one general, having the resources to be able to do what's necessary, and also personal care. Now, there's no one particular order that those four should happen in, and obviously again in the book I go into a lot more detail about my personal experiences of the barriers and solutions that I came up against and used. But essentially, without those four areas, and without the sort of right upbringing and the right childhood experiences, then it's basically impossible to be able to press on in life, to go into the more aspirational parts of career progression, leisure, adventure and travel, as you'll see at the top of the diagram. And another big sort of area that I think is so important in life, whether you're disabled or not, but certainly looking at disability, are relationships. Now, for those that have been reading Disability Horizons, you'll know there's been a few articles touching on the subject that have had a really big response. So there's relationships in the kind of love sense and the sex sense as well, but also there's relationships in terms of family, friends, and the professionals that we have to surround ourselves with, and that's another big area that has to be nurtured. So the way that I then try and take that framework of life and disability and barriers, and then the solutions, is if you look at the bottom part of the diagram below where it says life stages, we've got my general philosophy, which is to set aspirational goals. So don't just aim to be in work, but aim to be the boss, or to be in the industry that you've always wanted to be in. And with housing, don't aim for the most basic of housing. The long run, you should be aiming to live in the absolute house that you always dreamt of living in. And obviously with adventure, travel, leisure, it's not about just going out and meeting a friend once a week, which will be a goal for people, but in the end it should be about seeing friends, but also going to interesting places, doing interesting things. So all of this is very much about being aspirational and not being put in a box just because of disability. But then once you've identified what you want from life, you then have to identify the barriers. And as I've talked about in a lot of my articles and some of my videos, and certainly the training I do, the barriers are seen whether they're physical, so steps in the sort of physical environment, through attitudes, such as maybe a bus driver who is a bit awkward about getting the ramp out of the bus to help a wheelchair user to get on, and also in policies and general organisational sort of structures, and that would certainly be around discrimination in employing disabled people. So once those external barriers are identified, but also the internal barriers of confidence and skills and knowledge, then it's about finding the right solutions. And so the resources on the bottom right hand side of the diagram are knowledge, which is knowing everything we've just talked about, mindset, which is all about confidence, can do, resilient, never give up, people, having the right people around you that understand you, support you, help you, point you in the right direction, because no one should do this alone. And I know a big part of when I draw upon my personal experience is I couldn't do half the things I've done without my parents and my family and my friends. Also, we look at technology, so things like wheelchairs and hoists and cough machines, which I've been using this week with my chest infection to keep the oxygen pumping around my body, are all fundamental to being able to overcome the barriers and to get out there and to just live life. Obviously funding is a massive issue as well, so a part of the ebook, but obviously more so the webinars I run and the e-courses I run will signpost people to where funding is and give strategies on how to make that funding. So while it can't profess to have a solution to everything in the world, the point is I'm not just identifying barriers here, there are actual solutions that are available, it's just knowing where to go. And I know funding is a big issue, and it shouldn't come out of your pocket when it's due to being disabled. And lastly, campaigns. I think there's a lot of campaigning going on at the moment, quite rightly, with all the issues around the cuts and the government policies, and that must continue, because without social care funding and without DLA benefits and all the other support for disabled people, then all of what I'm writing about would become irrelevant and defunct. So campaigning is an absolute must for being able to achieve these goals as well. But I also say in the book that for me, campaigning should only be a part of life, and even when the going does get tough, there's still an aspect of getting out there and making do with what you've got and not waiting for the right moment to come. And believe me, you can get the right education, you can have the right social inclusion, you can get into employment, and you can have fun and enjoy life. It doesn't have to cost lots. And even with certain impairments that I know are out there different to mine, and they are difficult, I would still just say that there's a general sentiment that life is there for living and to be enjoyed. And this whole framework of my disability diamond theory just gives a context of how to approach it, some general understanding from me, a disabled person, but also some potential solutions for you guys to consider and hopefully apply to your own world. So keep in touch, let's keep the conversation going. I've got some really exciting projects coming up in the new year with more webinars on a whole host of different particular subjects, so keep an eye out on the online learning page. And also around the e-courses, there's an employment e-course coming, which is really going to be quite big and quite exciting. So keep in touch for the more nitty gritty, but essentially this diamond theory is a more broader autobiographical look on a mindset and a potential structure for just getting out there, living life and kicking ass when you have a disability. And I'll catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye bye.